You're not man enough for her. Her lover mocked me until I pulled out the divorce papers. I always thought I had a good marriage. Nothing perfect, of course. No marriage is. But solid. My wife, Lisa, 33F, and I, 34M, had been together for 12 years, married for 8, and had built what I thought was a stable life. We had a nice house, no major financial problems, and while things had become routine, I figured that was just part of being together for so long. I never doubted her, never thought she was unhappy, but the signs were there. The sudden obsession with her phone, the unexplained late nights at work, the way she seemed more distant, less affectionate. I convinced myself it was stress. Maybe she was struggling with something, but didn't know how to talk about it. I never considered the real possibility. Not until I saw it with my own eyes. The night it happened, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I had plans to meet a client for dinner, but he cancelled last minute. Instead of heading straight home, I decided to stop by a restaurant near my office, one Lisa and I used to love, but hadn't visited in years. I thought I'd grab a drink, maybe order takeout. That's when I saw her. Lisa sitting at a corner table, leaning in close to another man. He wasn't just some friend or coworker. His hand was resting on her thigh, his body angled toward her in a way that made it painfully obvious what was happening. She was laughing, her face glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. My stomach clenched so hard I felt sick. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, unable to move, unable to breathe. My brain struggled to process what I was looking at. This was Lisa, my wife. The woman who had kissed me goodbye just hours earlier, telling me she was going out for drinks with her coworkers. Clearly, that was a lie. Something inside me clicked. I wasn't going to turn around and leave. I wasn't going to slink off like some clueless idiot who didn't know what was happening in his own marriage. No, I was going to walk right up to them. I squared my shoulders, forced my legs to move, and strode across the restaurant. Lisa didn't notice me at first. She was too busy giggling at whatever he was saying. It wasn't until I was standing directly at their table that she finally looked up, her face drained of color. The man, her lover, looked between us, confused for half a second before realization dawned on him. He didn't look guilty or ashamed, no, he smirked. "Well, this is awkward," he said, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. "Guess the cat's out of the bag." Lisa opened her mouth, probably to stammer out some pathetic excuse, but I held up a hand, silencing her before she could even start. I wasn't interested in her lies, not tonight. Instead, I turned my attention to him. "And you are?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. He grinned, completely unfazed. "Name's Ryan, and you must be the husband." I didn't react, didn't flinch. If he was expecting me to lose it, to cause a scene, he was going to be disappointed. "How long?" I asked, my eyes locked on Lisa. She swallowed hard. "It's not how long." Her lips parted, but no words came out. That was answer enough. Ryan chuckled. "She never told me you were this intense, man." He turned to Lisa. "Babe, you said he was boring, but I gotta admit this is kind of entertaining." Lisa flinched. I didn't. I just nodded. "Good to know," I said. Then, I pulled out a neatly folded envelope from my jacket and dropped it on the table. Lisa's eyes darted to it, her breath hitching as realization hit. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said simply. Lisa gasped. "Wait, no, we need to—" "We don't," I interrupted, my voice still calm. "I've suspected for a while, this just confirms it. I already filed. All I needed was the final push." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I felt nothing. "Ryan?" He laughed. "Damn, dude, that was fast. Guess you really weren't man enough for her." I smiled, actually smiled. "You're right," I said. "I wasn't man enough to lower myself to her standards." Ryan's grin faltered. Lisa's shoulders shook as she whispered my name, but I didn't acknowledge her. I had wasted enough time. I turned, walked out of that restaurant, and never looked back. Lisa showed up at the house 2 days later. I expected her to come sooner, maybe even try to chase me down that night, but she must have needed time to figure out her story. Or maybe she spent the last 48 hours crying to Ryan, hoping he'd step up and play the role of the devoted boyfriend. Either way, I wasn't interested. I had already packed a bag and moved into a friend's guest house temporarily. I only came back to grab some paperwork and a few personal items. Lisa must have seen my car in the driveway because as soon as I stepped inside, she was right there, eyes red, dressed in an old hoodie like she thought looking pitiful would make a difference. "We need to talk." Her voice was quiet, like she was afraid to push too hard. I didn't look at her as I walked past, heading straight for the office. There's nothing left to say. "You can't just throw everything away like this," she cried, stepping in front of me. 12 years? And you won't even have a conversation?" I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to stay calm. "I didn't throw anything away. You did." She winced. "Good. Let that sink in." "It wasn't like that," she tried again. "It wasn't serious." I finally met her gaze, and whatever she saw in my face shut her up. "You let another man touch you. Lie to me. Disrespect me. Tell me, Lisa, how exactly was it not serious?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. There was no right answer, and we both knew it. I pushed past her and headed upstairs. I had planned to pack in silence, but Lisa wasn't going to let that happen. She followed me into the bedroom, alternating between sobbing and trying to explain herself. "I was lonely, you weren't paying attention to me. I got caught up in something stupid, but it didn't mean anything," excuse after excuse. None of it mattered. I kept my movements steady, grabbing only what I needed. I had no interest in taking everything at once. I'd let the lawyers deal with that. Lisa must have sensed how detached I was because her tone suddenly shifted. "I still love you," she whispered. I stilled, then turned to look at her. "You don't do what you did to someone you love." Her face crumpled. "I do love you. It was just a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," I corrected. "It was a choice. Over and over again." She had no response to that. I left the house without another word. Lisa didn't follow me this time. Maybe she knew she had already lost, or maybe she was still waiting for me to come around. Either way, I was done. My lawyer had already started the process. I wasn't interested in dragging things out, but I also wasn't going to let Lisa walk away with more than she deserved. There was no reason she should get to live comfortably after what she did. The house? Mine. We had bought it together, but I paid for 80% of it. She could fight me on it, but legally, she didn't have a strong case. I left that battle to my lawyer. I found out through a mutual friend that Lisa had gone straight to Ryan after I left. It didn't surprise me. She had always been someone who needed validation, someone who couldn't stand being alone, but the idea of her jumping straight into his arms after everything? It just confirmed what I already knew. She was never really sorry. I didn't care. She wasn't my problem anymore. The first time I ran into Ryan after the restaurant was about a month later. I was at the gym, minding my own business, when I spotted him near the free weights. He was laughing with some guys, looking cocky as ever. I considered ignoring him. He wasn't worth my time. But the moment he noticed me, he made a beeline in my direction. "Well, well, look who it is," he said, crossing his arms like he was expecting some kind of reaction from me. I just stared at him. "Ryan, so, how's single life treat you?" he smirked. "Heard Lisa's been a mess without you." I raised an eyebrow. "That's between her and her new boyfriend." "Oh wait." I pretended to think. "That's you, isn't it?" The smirk slipped just a little. "Yeah, that's right. And trust me, she's much happier now." I nodded. Good for her. That wasn't the response he wanted. He was expecting anger, jealousy, something. Instead, I grabbed my towel and walked away. A week later, I got a text from Lisa. "Can we meet?" I almost ignored it. But something told me this wasn't about me. It was about Ryan. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. She showed up looking exhausted, her usual polished appearance replaced by dark circles and a general sense of stress. I didn't feel sorry for her. "How are you?" she asked cautiously. "Fine," I said, sipping my coffee. "What do you want, Lisa?" She hesitated. "Ryan isn't who I thought he was." I said nothing, just waited. She sighed. "He's controlling. He gets jealous over stupid things, and I feel like I can't breathe half the time." "Sounds rough," I said, not bothering to fake sympathy. I don't know what to do," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I leaned back, meeting her gaze. "That's not my problem." She flinched. "I wasn't expecting you to take me back or anything." "Good," I cut her off, "because that will never happen." For the first time, I saw true regret on her face. She had made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Lisa got exactly what she wanted. She threw away 12 years of marriage for a guy who made her feel excited again. She humiliated me, lied to my face, and thought she could walk away without consequences. But reality hit her fast, and she realized she had made a mistake, one that couldn't be undone. I hadn't heard from her in weeks, and I assumed that meant she and Ryan were still together. I didn't care enough to check. My focus was on moving forward. The divorce was final, and I was free. I started working out again, picked up hobbies I had neglected, and reconnected with old friends. Every day that passed, I thought about Lisa less and less. Then, one afternoon, I ran into Lisa's best friend Emily at the grocery store. She hesitated before walking up to me, looking like she had something to say. "I probably shouldn't be telling you this," she started, lowering her voice. "But, Lisa and Ryan, it's over, and it wasn't pretty." I raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, he cheated on her?" Emily shook her head. "No, but he accused her of it constantly. He went through her phone, questioned her about everything, and freaked out if she so much as looked at another guy. She said it was like being in prison." The irony almost made me laugh. Lisa had left me for a man who treated her exactly how she deserved to be treated. "She regrets everything," Emily continued. "She told me she made a huge mistake." I nodded and grabbed a loaf of bread off the shelf. "Well, that makes one of us," Emily sighed. "She still loves you." I finally turned to look at her. "No, she misses what I gave her. There's a difference." I figured that would be the end of it. Lisa wasn't the type to admit she was wrong, so I assumed she'd just suffer in silence and disappear from my life. But 2 weeks later, I got a text. "Can we meet? Just to talk." I stared at my phone for a long time before deleting the message without replying. Lisa had made her bed. Now she could lie in it, but she wasn't done yet. The next day, I ran into Ryan at the gym. I had almost forgotten about him. He wasn't anything special, just some generic guy with an overinflated ego. I figured he'd pretend I didn't exist, but instead, he made a point to walk over, smirking like he had won something. Well, look who it is," he said, crossing his arms. I grabbed a towel from my bag and barely acknowledged him. "Ryan, how's single life treating you?" he sneered. "Heard Lisa's been a mess without you." I raised an eyebrow. "That's between her and whatever guy she's crying to now." His smirk faltered for just a second before he covered it up. "Yeah, well, she's still thinking about you. Pretty pathetic, huh?" I grinned. "Yeah, it is, especially since she left you too." His jaw tightened. I slung my gym bag over my shoulder and walked past him. "Have a great day, Ryan." Lisa tried one last time. This time, she didn't text. She showed up. I was leaving the gym when I saw her standing near my car, shifting nervously. She looked different. Tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. I almost walked right past her, but she stepped in front of me. "Please, can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," I said, moving around her. She reached out and grabbed my arm. "Please, I need to tell you I'm sorry." I finally looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't the confident woman who had laughed with Ryan in that restaurant. She wasn't the woman who had smirked as he mocked me. She looked hollow, like she had finally realized what she had done. "Okay," I said. "You're sorry? And?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "And I miss you." I shook my head. "No, Lisa, you miss the life you had with me. There's a difference." She bit her lip, trying to hold back a sob. "I messed up." "Yeah," I agreed. "You did." And then I walked away. Lisa may have finally realized what she lost, but it didn't matter. I was never going back. Lisa's last attempt to get me back was exactly what I expected. Too little, too late. She had spent months disrespecting our marriage, lying to my face, and running around with a guy who never planned to stick around. And now, after burning everything to the ground, she wanted sympathy. A second chance. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for what it had cost her. I gave her nothing. No conversation, no closure, no chance to explain herself further. I walked away from her outside that gym and never spoke to her again. She must have realized there was no undoing what she had done because, for the first time since this whole thing started, she finally left me alone. No texts, no calls, no accidental run-ins, just silence. It was exactly what I wanted. At first, I thought I'd struggle with it. Not the divorce itself. I had made peace with that, but with the emptiness that came after. I had been with Lisa for 12 years, married for 8. That was a long time to share a life with someone. I thought there would be nights where I missed her, that I'd have moments of doubt, that I'd wonder if I made a mistake by cutting her off so completely. But the truth? I never did. Because I wasn't mourning Lisa. I was mourning the version of her I had believed in. The woman I had trusted, the woman I thought I would grow old with. That woman didn't exist, and once I accepted that, moving on was easier than I ever expected. I focused on myself. I started traveling, something Lisa had always made excuses to avoid. I went on weekend trips with friends, hiked trails I had been putting off for years, and spent time actually enjoying life, rather than wasting it trying to fix a relationship that was beyond saving. I picked up new hobbies, started boxing more seriously, and got into the best shape I had been in since my early 20s. My friends, the ones who had been there for me during the worst of it, noticed the change. "Dude, you seem happier than when you were married," my friend Mark told me one night over drinks. I shrugged. "That's because I am." And I meant it. I wasn't just surviving after the divorce. I was thriving. Lisa, on the other hand, not so much. I didn't keep tabs on her, but when you live in the same city, news has a way of finding you. It started small, little updates from mutual friends, mentions of her name in passing. I never asked, but people told me anyway. At first, she tried to act like she was fine, like her life was just as great without me. But it wasn't long before reality caught up with her. One night, a few months after I last saw her, I was out with some friends when Emily, Lisa's former best friend, showed up. She spotted me at the bar and made a beeline for me, her expression somewhere between amusement and pity. "You heard about Lisa, right?" I took a sip of my drink. "I don't really keep up with her." Emily smirked. "Well, she's moved back in with her parents. She's completely broke." That caught my attention. What happened? "Turns out, when you burn every bridge you have, no one wants to help you." She shrugged. She lost the house in the divorce, had to move into an overpriced apartment, and with the economy the way it is, let's just say she's struggling. I didn't say anything, just listened as Emily kept talking. "And Ryan? Yeah, he was never in it for the long haul. They lasted maybe 3 months before he dumped her for someone younger." It didn't surprise me. Ryan was never the kind of guy to settle down. He wanted the chase, the thrill, and once the excitement of sneaking around with Lisa was gone, so was he. "She really thought he was her future," Emily added, shaking her head. I finally spoke. "She made her choice." Emily studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, she did. I never reached out to Lisa, and she never reached out to me. She faded into the background, a part of my past that no longer had any hold on me. As for Ryan, I never saw him again. He had no reason to cross my path, and honestly, he wasn't worth the energy it would take to care. He had thought he won, thought he had taken something from me, but in the end, he was just another temporary distraction in Lisa's downward spiral. And me? I was happier than I had ever been.